Welcome to Dark Whispers, where silence carries the weight of secrets, and every whisper echoes the cries of the forgotten. This is the heartbreaking mystery of the boy in the box, the story of Joseph Augustus Zarelli. It was a bitter February afternoon in 1957, in a quiet, wooded area of Fox Chase, on the northern edge of Philadelphia. The trees stood bare against the winter sky. The ground was slick with patches of melting snow, and the air carried that sharp cold that seeps into your bones. A young man was wandering through the woods that day, checking his muskrat traps. It was supposed to be an ordinary walk, just another routine. But tucked away in the weeds, half hidden among the brush, he noticed something unusual, an old cardboard box. At first, he nearly ignored it. Trash in the woods wasn't anything rare. But something about it caught his eye, and curiosity pulled him closer. He lifted the flaps, peered inside, and froze. Inside the box was the small, fragile body of a young boy, naked, bruised, wrapped only in a thin plaid blanket. His head bore the marks of a violent blow. His hair had been crudely chopped, uneven, as if cut in a rush. He looked no older than 4, maybe 5 years old. Alone, lifeless, and nobody knew who he was. Police rushed to the scene, their boots crunching in the frozen earth as they searched for anything that could explain this heartbreaking discovery. The box itself had once contained a bassinet sold by J.C. Penney. Investigators tracked every sale, but there were too many, and the trail went nowhere. The thin plaid blanket told them nothing either. A cheap, common make, sold in stores everywhere. The autopsy revealed even darker truths. This boy hadn't just died that night. He had suffered for years. He was malnourished, his ribs pressing against his skin. Scars and bruises covered his tiny body, some old, some fresh. He had been abused over and over again. His hair had been chopped right before his death, likely an attempt to make him harder to recognize. The cause of death was clear: blunt force trauma to the head. This was no accident. It was murder. Detectives were determined to give this child back his identity. They took photographs of his small face, even dressing him in children's clothes, posing him as if alive, desperate for someone to recognize him. The photos were printed in newspapers, handed out on flyers, even included in gas bills mailed to every home in Philadelphia. The entire city came to know his face, but no one stepped forward. No parent reported him missing. No family claimed him. It was as if this child had been erased from existence. The case quickly became one of the most mysterious and heartbreaking in America. And soon, the theories began. Some investigators focused on a foster home only a short distance from where the boy had been found. The home had taken in many children over the years, and suspicions swirled, but no hard evidence connected it to the crime. Decades later, a woman known only as M came forward with a disturbing story. She claimed her abusive mother had purchased the boy, kept him hidden in a basement, and eventually killed him. Her story was detailed, horrifying, but investigators could never verify it. Other theories suggested he might have been the child of organized crime, or an unwanted child abandoned by his family, or perhaps a kidnapped boy whose disappearance was never reported. But every lead crumbled into nothing. And so, the boy in the box remained a ghost. In 1957, his small body was buried in a Philadelphia cemetery. The headstone carried no name, only the words, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." Later, when his remains were moved, he was given a new grave marker, larger this time. It read, "America's Unknown Child." For decades, people visited, Detectives, strangers, families who felt drawn to him. They left flowers, toys, prayers. He became more than a victim. He became a symbol, a reminder of the children who vanish, the forgotten lives cut short. But still, the question lingered. Who was he? Then, more than 60 years later, science gave him back his voice. In 2019, his body was exhumed once again. DNA was carefully extracted, and for the first time, technology could do what 1950s detectives never could. Using genetic genealogy, the same method that caught the Golden State Killer, scientists uploaded his DNA to family tree databases. From there, genealogists built connections, one distant relative at a time. It was painstaking, slow work, but after years of effort in 2022, the mystery finally cracked. The boy in the box had a name. He was Joseph Augustus Zarelli, born in January 1953, right there in Philadelphia. Just 4 years old when he was killed. Investigators identified his parents, both long deceased. He even had siblings, some still alive, who had never known that the nameless boy in the box was their own lost brother. After more than 6 decades, Joseph was no longer unknown, but with the name came more questions. Who had killed him? Investigators believe his parents, or someone close to them, may have been responsible. His short life showed a history of abuse. His death was brutal, and yet there is no one left to answer for it. His parents are gone. Witnesses have faded. Records are lost. Even with DNA, the truth about that February day in 1957 may never be fully known. And yet something profound happened in December of 2022. In a solemn press conference, the Philadelphia Police Department finally announced his identity. For the first time, his name was spoken publicly: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Detectives, genealogists, and strangers who had carried his story for decades gathered at his grave. A new headstone was placed, engraved with his full name and his too short life. January 13th, 1953 to February 25th, 1957. For 65 years, he had been America's unknown child. But now, he was Joseph, a boy who had suffered, a boy who had been forgotten, a boy who was finally remembered. The boy in the box remains one of America's most haunting stories, a mystery that stretched across generations, blending horror, sadness, and hope. We now know his name, we know his face, but the question of why he was beaten, why he was discarded in a box, why no one claimed him, may forever remain unanswered. Still, his story is not just about tragedy. It is about the persistence of those who never gave up, the detectives who carried the case through decades, the scientists who used technology to pull truth from the silence of time. For decades, he was only a nameless child. Now, he is Joseph Augustus Zarelli. The little boy who lay in the box, abandoned in the cold, has finally come home.